Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Always delighted to have my friend Debbie Ortiz on. She's from Cornerstone Recovery and frequent guest here on the program. And she brings interesting guests as well to talk about the issues of recovery that are so pervasive in our culture, really of addiction so pervasive in our culture. And as we are now, this country, the whole nation is kind of making a turn towards the acceptance of marijuana, as a valid drug, as if that's going to make the problem go away, and legalizing alcohol after the prohibition, which didn't work, but, the simplistic approaches seem to be failing to hit the actual mark, which is that addiction is real. Addiction is pervasive. 22 million Americans are suffering with addiction. 23 million more in recovery, and so those people are still addicts. They're just recovering addicts, and over 360 lives lost each day to addiction, which I think is probably a conservative number, actually. Yeah. And so a lot of people in denial, even as they lost a loved one, and they attribute it to depression or some, bad driving or whatever. And the reality is there's a direct linkage to this and the disease of drug and alcohol abuse. And so it's very, very sobering, no pun intended, statistics. Debbie, real quickly, tell us about Cornerstone, the great work Cornerstone does, and introduce us to your guest today.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that intro because we were talking out in the lobby about just how pervasive this issue is. We at Cornerstone work specifically with teens who have addiction issues so that they can recover and then go on to have productive lives. And we have a tremendously effective program, as you know, that if one of our teenagers stay in the program for 3 years, which is what we usually require, they are 85% likely not only to stay sober, but to go on and have successful lives. And Chris Powell is one of the people that's involved with us. I'm so pleased to have you here, Chris. Thank you. He's not only on our board, but he's very actively working on our sporting clays and several other fundraising committees. So, Chris, tell us how you got involved with Cornerstone, just briefly, but more so, why are you giving your time and energy to this organization?
You bet. Thank you, Debbie, and thanks, Kevin, for having us on.
Glad to have you.
I think it's good to reiterate the statistics that you pointed out because it is important for people to understand just how prevalent addiction is in our society. Mm-hmm. I myself am a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, having spent many years suffering from the disease, finally getting sobriety. About 4 years ago, I was approached by a woman I had got to know and was talking about my story, and she had mentioned that they could use some help with Cornerstone. Mm-hmm. I met some members of the board, and as you will hear people talk about in recovery, one of the ways that you keep it is to give it away, and I think that's true of life in general. And so I jumped at the opportunity to join the organization, and it's been a blessing ever since. Cornerstone, as you mentioned, is focused on helping adolescents who are struggling with addiction, but it also is there to help their families. Mm-hmm. And as we touched on at the beginning of this, there's a lot of misunderstanding around the disease of addiction. Addicts are like tornadoes. We don't just destroy ourselves, we destroy those in our path, and those can be family members, friends, coworkers, whoever they may be. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding, there's a lot of fear when it comes to someone, especially a loved one who is suffering from addiction, of how do I deal with this? Did I cause this? Not knowing what to do or where to go for help. And Cornerstone is an invaluable organization in meeting those needs. The opportunity to come in and catch these kids early on who are struggling with addiction, get them the help they need to get sober and stay sober, but more importantly, give them the tools so that they can go out into society and live, honorable lives, lives of service, lives of love. And to get them at an age that young when they're becoming the adults that they're going to be in society and the ones who are going to be taking care of all three of us when we're retired, gives me a lot of comfort that we're providing them the tools not only to stay sober, which is the main goal, but to be productive members of society.
Yeah, there's no question about it, and I think the thing that I hear, the strongest even out of what you just shared is that the importance of people recognizing that this is a family disease. It's not just an addict's disease. And if the family doesn't get help, good luck to the addict. And so, and although as you pointed out, the family couldn't cause it, certainly couldn't control it, which broke them, to the point of getting to a place like Cornerstone, nor can they cure it. They can contribute to it. And they can either contribute to the person getting better or that person getting worse.
No, I think that's absolutely true, Kevin. And that's one of the things that Cornerstone helps with. All of us as parents, understand the fear you have when you have a child that is sick or a child that is injured. And addiction is a disease, and there is treatment for it. But as we noted at the beginning, I think there's still a lot of misunderstanding on what the cause of the disease is and how you treat it. And so a lot of the parents do come in with fear of, did I cause this? Am I doing something to help it, or am I hurting the situation? Mm-hmm. And we help not only them, but the children get the help they need.
Yep, very, very true. Debbie?
Chris, I'd like to take it back on a personal level about why you give your time, because, you're a young guy, you're starting in your career. I mean, you're, still up and coming, I would say. And you have, I know, 2 young children, you're married. And yet, how do you find time to volunteer for an organization like Cornerstone? I mean, a lot of guys would just be sitting around on the couch watching football. So what motivates you?
Well, that's an easy answer, Debbie. I don't know how you couldn't find time to give back to an organization like Cornerstone. As I noted, one of the parts of my recovery, my 12-step recovery, is to give away what I was so freely given. And it's easy with an organization like Cornerstone. We have an incredible board of directors. The staff is incredible, as you know. The families involved all work together with one singular goal and purpose in mind. And that is to help these adolescents and help their families. And we, as you know, have heated debates at times to talk about how we achieve that goal, how we can better get the message out and the help that we're trying to spread. But we all do that with the purpose in mind of providing help. And it's a wonderful organization. I know from having sat on the finance committee, all of the money is used for the help of the children. And so the short answer is I don't know how I couldn't find time.
All right, we're going to have to wrap it up on that point. And you got a big event coming up for Cornerstone. Take this 30 seconds to promote that for us.
Thanks, Kevin. Yes, it's our annual Sporting Clays event, and we are looking for people to sponsor and to get involved with Cornerstone. We would love to hear from you. Just go to cornerstonerecovery.org, and you can find my contact information as well. And we would love to have you join us because we need all the help we can get.
I strongly recommend people to look into doing just that. All right. Thanks to both of you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin.
When we come back, much more for you right here on The Price of Business.